Hey everybody, Sean Tierney here, and I'm announcing a fundraiser for something I've been wanting to do for a long time, the Automation Museum. And I thought this would be a great place where we could feature the history of industrial automation. And of course, they'll have other parts too. There'll be other technologies covered in this, like computers. You want to cover computers as well. But in any case, for you and I, the biggest thing would be automation, I think. And the whole thought process behind this came when, I'm collecting all of this equipment, do training courses, and I've been doing this for 35 years. And some old things are just, sentimental to me, and I don't want to throw them away. And I know there's a lot of you out there who are in the same boat. As a matter of fact, you've sent me some great stuff because we've talked about my desire to open up an automation museum. And so I'm hoping if we can get just 3% of you out there who follow me to just to give a few dollars, we could actually get the nonprofit organizations set up and start accepting really big donations from large corporations. Now, that's not to say I don't think that all of us together, the 80,000 controls engineers in the US couldn't do this. We could, but it's a lot easier when you have a 501(c) and you can get money, because a lot of these big companies, they have an edict that they have to give away so much money every year, right? They have all these great profits, so they have to give some away. And so we want to be able to tap into that some too. So, let's think of this future automation museum. Maybe there's a Rockwell wing, and Rockwell sponsors some new displays there, or a Siemens wing, or a Schneider wing, or whoever, right? I mentioned those three guys first because they're some of my biggest sponsors, right? But we could also have a Moxa and a P&F and all the other great vendors who've, Metla Toledo, who've sponsored content here. I should probably name them all, but there's so many of them, right? But in any case, I think it'd be very cool to have a place where not only the stuff gets displayed, but you and I can share our knowledge with the rest of the industry. So, when I retire, maybe in 10 or 20 years, I hope, maybe, who's gonna, like, if somebody has to go work on a PLC-5 or a SLC 500 or a Micrologics, where are they gonna find that information? Maybe they're gonna work on a PLC-2. Maybe they'll work on a PDQ or an S1 or S2 or some really old, a Modicon 84, right? So how are they gonna get that information, right? And how are they gonna learn how to use it and maintain it? And then how are new controls engineers gonna understand where the industry started, why things are the way they are, why 61131 came, where it came from, and why it was so important to our industry to kind of try to standardize the technology, right? And so that's what I thought. I just put this up. Brandon and I both contributed some money. I also donated the .org and the .com to the organization. And what we're looking for is really just the first stage is to get up to $3,000, right? And if we can get the $3,000, we can get the 501(c) set up, and we can start taking bigger contributions, right? And but in any case, I hope you guys are interested in this. And I want to now switch over and talk about some of this old technology here. And I want to talk about PLC-5. So what a great product this was when it came out. If any of you were around during the transition from 2 to 5s, now I got in 1990, right? So the PLC-5 came out in 86. I think it was supposed to come out in 85, but then Rockwell bought Allen Bradley. That's one of the stories I heard. It was kind of delayed a little bit and came out in 86. Could be totally wrong. But in any case, that's the kind of stuff we could archive at the Automation Museum. But, the PLC-5 was just so much more phenomenal than the PLC-2 in many ways. And I'm sure there's some PLC-2 lovers out there saying, but I just loved it. Having learned in college, having learned how to program microprocessors, right? Using machine code. And then, having, learned, C, all these different languages, Pascal basic as a kid, really. When I came to the PLC-2 and the SLC 150, it was like, or SLC 100, it was really difficult because like everything was numeric. Like it had all these numeric tables and you had to remember everything. And while, I could read the book and understand, it was hard giving that concept to electricians who would call in for help. And so when the PLC-5 came out, one of the huge things they added was letters in front of the data table addresses. So T's for timers, B for counters, N for integers, C, F for floating point, and all these different things. and it just made I's for inputs, O for outputs, and it just made things so much better. Plus, the PLC-5 was the first PLC that Rockwell made that there was no handheld programmer for it. Now, I never heard of one. I never heard of anybody using a T4 or T5 or T6 to program them. I've never found any reference to that in any literature. Maybe you guys know something different, but as far as I know, these units had to be programmed with a PC, and a lot of electricians didn't have PCs. I remember arguing with my boss in the early 90s that just give me a copy of Windows so I could support the Wintelligence series from ICOM. Great software. But in any case, and that really moves the industry forward as well, because there's so much more you can do with a PC than you could do with an old electronic handheld programmer. And now if you take a close look here, I'm sure some of you see that one of these PLCs is not a PLC-5. That's right. I stuck in, it must be in the garage, my old studio at home. I don't know where the I think it's the 511 is, but in any case, I stuck in because it looks so similar, a mini PLC2. I don't know, is this a 50, is this a 216 or 217? 216. So I used this a lot in the early 90s as well to support the, you got to be careful here because they're like dominoes, they could all fall over. But to support the PLC2 and, using AI and 6200. But in any case, over here, you can see the original 4. And again, these I've picked these up over the years for the course I'm teaching on PLC-5s, which is still which is just getting started. But in any case, you can see over here the original PLC-5s, and then the next generations. I don't have a 580. I know somebody's probably asking, hey, do you get a 5? No. I mean, these, and I had some people, some old colleagues say, oh, they must be like $1 million each. It's like, no, you can get them for $100. The problem is the software. There's no cheap way to get a official license. I want to thank one of our viewers, actually, how do I want to put this? He transferred his software to me so I could support it here at the automation school and the automation blog. So thank you very much. And we traded, I sent him a micro and some other stuff in exchange, but it was great to get that so I could support the students out there. But in any case, that's the problem. The hardware is very inexpensive. I got piles of 1771 IO cards I'll go through in the course. They're actually right here in a box that I'll be going through. I even have the sidecar, the infamous sidecar, works so well, but was so expensive and got discontinued. It's way too early, I think. But in any case, I like the sidecar. It's a little hardware-wise, you got to use up that first slot, but man, it just works so well. But in any case, the PLC-5s, this is some knowledge, right? And the PLC-2s and 3s. This is knowledge that a lot of people don't have today. And so as people are retiring, right, they may say, well, we have to throw it away because nobody knows how to use it. But you don't. These things are monsters. They're awesome. They're granted, they don't do coordinated motion and servos and all that. But man, you can do racks and racks and racks and racks of I/O with these things, analog and digital, and they program in multiple languages, unlike the SLC 500 Micrologics. And it's just some of the history that will be lost, and we're already losing, on some of the products that came out in the 60s and 70s and 80s, right, and now the 90s, right. And so this is the type of stuff I would like to have on display and have at a physical automation museum, which would have to be located somewhere near my office, unless we've raised a lot of money where we could afford someplace touristy, maybe next to one of the big theme parks or something. But in any case, I do think a lot of you out there too have some great stuff that you would like to donate. And I know a lot of people are like, no, sell it on eBay, make a quick buck. And I guess if the Automation Museum doesn't take off, if we don't raise enough money, instead of donating a lot of this hardware, I will end up just selling it on eBay, right? But I'd much rather donate it to a nonprofit and have them set up, and not only be set up and have the story there, but also how to use them, like have courses. Like I'll even donate my time to teach how to use this old stuff, the stuff I know, right? So we were talking about one of the products I shared. Somebody sent in a PCMK card, and I just got a ton of stories about that I'd love to share with the world, and I'm sure you guys do too. And it would be great to have be able to do that. But in any case, to start, to know if there's enough interest out there, I got 100,000 followers. We're looking to raise $3,000 for phase one so we can get that 501(c) set up and get a basic website set up so we can see if we can go to the next level and get some corporate sponsors. But if we can't do that, we can't do that. But if there's enough of you out there, enough, what is, if we get the 3,000 of the 100,000 followers out there to give $1 each, then it should be a no-brainer. But if there's no interest, there's no interest, right? But I think it would be really cool to be able to pass on the knowledge and really understanding how it all gets started, right? And so people understand the journey. It's kind of like you go to, like we have the Hancock Shaker Village down here where they show how things were done in the old days, right? And they got, the forges and, everything's, horsepower. And I think it would be great to do that with automation as well. But with that said, that's all I have. So if you're interested, givesendgo.com/automation museum. This would be part of a bigger technology museum that also have some computers in it. It won't be focused on computers. It's going to be focused on automation. But, I got a lot of stuff I want to donate, so we can have some little history of computers there as well. Maybe history of some other technology too, like RS-232. I mean, how long do we use that? USB, just so much, Ethernet, right? How about, and I know so many people need basic Ethernet training. So in any case, I kind of think they go hand in hand. But with that, I'm going to leave the video there. This is my first fundraiser video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you'll take some interest in helping us launch the Automation Museum. And I'm not going to accept any more hardware until we get the 501(c) set up so I can actually send people receipts for whatever the going value is. So you can actually, if you're donating, so I know some people can't accept they can't donate on behalf of themselves, but in any case, I know large companies too. If a large company has like 3 or 4 old trade show demos, a lot of times they throw them away. It's like, don't throw them away. What are you doing? In my old job, I would get some and I would use them at the old shop. And it's like, why would you throw that stuff away? Well, it's old stuff, but gee whiz, there's millions of them installed all over the place. Anyways, I just want to wish you guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I want to wish you all a great weekend. And please consider donating. If you have a few extra bucks, please consider donating something over at givesendgo.com/automation museum. And with that, I want to thank you all for listening. And until next time, my friends.